Well, Django, you did it. You torqued off little Joe. Now you got kicked out of the bed. Well, welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Working on this Escape from the Lost World. About got it done. Well, at least all the functions working. I still haven't shopped it yet. Had a lot of fun with the lights. The lights and the lamps and the pseudo flashers are pretty wild on this. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So there's actually not very many GI lights that, the general illumination that run on the AC. So those are the ones that are not blinking or anything. There's a few of them around here, but not that many. Like even the ones under the slingshots, they are controlled lights. They're coming on and off here in the attract mode. So these are controlled lights, which is kind of wild. This game doesn't really have flashers. It looks like there's flashers. They're not blinking. They're not doing anything. But those are actually what they called bright lamps. They're on. If you look at the MPU, they're on this lamp side of the board. They're using the bigger SCRs. And they're using a 906 bulb, but it's run through the lamp circuit, which is kind of weird. And it's a little bit confusing about which ones are lamps and which ones are bright lamps. Some of the bright lamps, like this one, has a dome that fits over it when the playfield's all put together, so it's pretty obvious. Some of them are not obvious at all, like this one here, extra ball. That looks like the kind of thing that would be a flasher behind it. It's not a flasher. That's a lamp. So let me go through the menu. Oh, the menu is just bizarre. A lot of these are even worse. A lot of these games have a keypad to get to the menu. This one's just kind of cryptic. You press this once, that gets you there, and then you press these up and down buttons. I'm going to go down twice. That would get me into there. And now you press the credit button, and that gets you in. Okay, so I'm going to do all lamps. So all my lamps are blinking. There we go. So all the lamps are going, it does, except for the bright lamps. So you have to know that those bright lamps are actually lamps and not flashers. And there is no flasher circuit. There's no test for the flashers. The next test, if you go through here, is single lamps. So you wouldn't think that those bright lamps are in the single lamps, but they absolutely are in there. So you just have to scroll through them, and there's one of them flashing away, and it's called bright left. So that one's pretty obvious, but some of these are not. Let me just like look at these two. You've got one that's a lamp. Let me turn the game off. It'll be easier without the... So you got the 555 there, and right adjacent to it, you've got the 906. So some of these are just not real obvious where the things are at. By the way, this playfield, pretty clever the way they made this. I'm going to flip this up here and get underneath it. Okay, here's another one, a lamp and a bright lamp. And there's no way to know just by looking at the top because the sockets are exactly the same. So this game had several where the lamps were in the bright lamps were in the lamps. If you put the bright lamp, this one is essentially a flasher, into this socket, it will blow the corresponding SCR because it's using one of these little tiny SCRs to essentially run a flasher, and it fries it. And there was a couple that were... Well, there was just one more that was fried. I had to take the board out one more time to swap that out. So it was a little confusing about which ones were which. That was kind of the biggest issue. And there was just going through it all. And then there's one other thing. This switch here is not working. Hooked it up to the multimeter. It's checking continuity. As I close that should be beeping. It's not. And on further inspection, you flip this thing up and see this. Somebody has basically either they cut this on purpose or it got bayoneted when it was just hanging off the edge and it got cut. But in any case, somebody has twisted it together and soldered it. So I guess to get the rest of the switches working on that row or column, whichever one it is. But this goes on that tab there, because that tab goes to the yellow wire that goes to the switch I just had in my hand on the playfield. So that wire there from the switch is going nothing. So that switch has two problems. First, the switch mechanically, it does not open and close, and second, it's not wired up to anything. So got to fix both those issues. I think once I do that, I'll get the last switch going, and then this thing will be ready to shop the top and go through all the mechanisms, get them cleaned, and get it playing. But I think everything else is working on at this point. So anyway, take care. Adios.